Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again to another episode of CivilianTacticalWeapons.com. Today's episode is actually a viewer was asking me about optics for H&K G3 clone. This actually holds true for any of the older H&K family, like any of the MP5s. If you look at any of the HK 53, 91s, all that type of stuff. When we're also when we're referring to that, we're also referring to things like the clones, like Setmas, the PTR 91s, any of the H&K G3 flavor type rifles. So make sure you get that, make sure I clarify that up front. So what we've actually done with this particular model of the G3 is I had a viewer ask me about looking for a tactical modified, a tactical magnified option for his gun. There's a couple options here. One is actually you go with EOTech, and EOTech has their own proprietary claw mount that they put on. But the problem is you can't get an EOTech like a 557, or actually this one be I think it'd be a 552 X308. You couldn't fit one of those on in their magnifier. What I'm actually showing you is an option from Aimpoint where I can actually do all of that for a particular person. So what we have up front is actually the Aimpoint Micro T1, and then under it I've got the actual spacer kit. Behind it we've got the Aimpoint 3X magnifier system. And what we're able to do is actually have this all co-witnessed and be able to go ahead and see through all these optics. A couple of things to note about this. This is the older, this is actually made by Arms, this particular claw mount. There were various different types of claw mounts that have come out. In fact, I think some of the newer ones actually have a more traditional mil-spec 1918 type Picatinny rail on top. These actually have different kind of rail systems where the problem you have is you don't have equal spacing on the mount points. So these are actually kind of a little trickier to actually mount on. So what I want to do is actually show you this. We're going to actually go ahead and, if I can do this without too much frustration. All right, go ahead and take this off. And I want to point out a couple of things with the setup, some things you should know about using one of these ARM systems. Or, I recommend you get the newer one, which just has a regular Picatinny rail on top. But what we're actually done with this one, I'll show you from the bottom, if you can zoom in on this. What we've actually done on the bottom here is the forward mount of the Aimpoint Micro T1, the clamps, the actual clamp points on it, how this clamps down, is actually clamped to the very front of this rail, but some of the space in the front is actually hanging off the front of the rail. Because we've actually got a majority of this all clamped on, and then the main connection point is clamped on, this actually isn't an issue. But just be aware that your rail on top may not have enough rail space to do this. If we look at the back of here, you can actually see that there's additional spaces here, but we can't move this back too far because then you're not going to be able to use the cheek well on the gun. So this would actually be too far back, which means you're kind of leaning back like this, shooting on the gun. So this is actually the positioning that we actually need to do for this particular option. But what I want to point out here, get the gun out of the way. What I want to point out here is I can go ahead and operate, I can go ahead and take the, this is actually a quick release, I can go ahead and pull it off, so this works fine. I can pull it on and off without an issue. So you don't lose that ability with doing this setup. They're very close, so I can go ahead and if I do want to fire my, G3 clone at short range, I can just use the Micro T1 non-magnified, or I can go ahead and drop on the magnification option to go ahead and actually do the entire setup here. So I wanted to go ahead and show this to you, actually even for a very specific viewer who was asking me about what options I recommend and I sell for this. So what I'm actually doing, the recommendation here is actually the Micro T1 with the Aimpoint 39mm mount, and then also, or 39mm spacer kit, and then also the Aimpoint 3X magnifier system. So remember, if you go to CivilianTacticalWeapons.com/store, actually sell all these particular optics. If you have any questions, please email me at info@CivilianTacticalWeapons.com. Don't send me any emails through YouTube since I won't read them or answer them. And I hope to see you in a future episode. Thank you.